Welcome to Pound for Pound ATL, arguably the best place to get facts and opinions on your Atlanta Falcons. And absolutely the best place to get your opinions in. The conversation starts now.
What's going on, football fans? It's me, J.R. Clark, back again with another Pound for Pound ATL Live, joined as always by my main man, Toby D. Toby, what's going on, brother?
Man, ain't nothing going on but this bad loss we had on last Thursday night.
Oh, man. You ain't wrong about that. Dude, you talk about just a total team loss. Like, don't get me wrong. I understand and I know that Thursday nights do not favor the road team at all. Like, generally speaking, the road team looks like trash, okay? And I also get that it was a rainy, nasty conditions.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I absolutely get it. But my God, man, y'all look like, the team looked like they completely and utterly forgot what football was and what they were supposed to be trying to accomplish on that field. Nick Bangalow's already asked me, he says, JR, what jersey you got on? The last competent QB we had? That's what I got on.
just ran a 39-yarder on the Raiders.
Longer than any run Mariota's had. I definitely put this on for a reason, right? Like, I get it. I really do. I do not, under any circumstances, think that if Ryan was still on this team that we'd be looking any better, because this offensive line is still not good, okay? And I know that via, like, rankings and PFF scores and all this other jazz, that the offensive line thus far through the season has ranked, above average. And I'll give Dwayne Ledford credit for making chicken salad out of chicken blank, as folks like to say. But when you are down to your third string left guard and your center is bowling the ball back to your quarterback and your right tackle still 4 years into the league can't handle a speed rush, nah. Like, you got two good pieces on this line. You got the left tackle and you got the right guard. Like, jury's still out on Dahlman, whether he can actually be a good center. It worries me that his first job, getting the ball to the quarterback, he's inconsistent at best. Like, every time that snap was low and Mariota has to go dig it down, you're already asking an inconsistent quarterback to do even more.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even get him to snap. This is the guy who, when he turns his back to the defense in this heavy play action scheme, forgets what the defense was that he just saw. Right? So you're asking him to consistently dig the daggum ball out of the ground and then do all the things you needed to do. Make the right reads and so on and so forth.
Well, I tell you what, him throwing across his body over there to the Carolina Panthers wasn't Dahlman's fault. I tell you that much. I don't know who he thought he was, but maybe he thought he had jumped in Patrick Mahomes' body for a short second and forgot that he was actually Marcus Mariota, because he was bad, JR. He was bad. And I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of people look at that game, his worst game, but it started to me in week 4 against the Cleveland Browns is where this all started. And that Carolina Panther, all that was just everything coming to a head with what we were finally going to see what the real Mariota looked like.
Yep.
And we saw it.
Yeah. I mean, you see an 8-year vet who, like, looks indecisive. He looks like very inconsistent. And And it makes you wonder, it's like, the big talk, like, going into this like mini bye we had. Oh, it's a great time to start Ritter. And for us fans, yeah, we want to see Ritter, obviously. Like, and we can get into that more tonight. But, he's not done anything during the season that we can see on the field as fans that justify him still being a starting quarterback. And it's not all on him. And what I mean by that is the woes of this team aren't all on him. The defense, you're playing Carolina, who is trotting out as many backups as you are on their team. They got one thing and one thing only, to run Dante Foreman.
Yep.
And you couldn't stop him.
Mm-mm.
To the tune of a touchdown and 130 yards. In 2 games, in 3 weeks span, he rushed for 4 touchdowns and 250-something yards.
Sure did.
That ain't on Mariota.
Mm-hmm. Mm-mm. That
ain't on Kyle Pitts. That ain't on Drake London. That's on Lorenzo Carter. That's on Grady Jarrett. That's on A.D. Ogundeji. That's on Graham. That's on Dean Pease. Like, you knew what they were going to do. You knew what they could do. There's 2 things that they had offensively. They had DJ Moore, who you just about let beat you the first time around. And they had Dante Foreman. That's it.
Yeah. But
and
I'm going to tell you what. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, you couldn't shut them down.
Yeah. So, I tell you what, JR. Obviously, the secondary has been a very important piece to our run defense. And when AJ Terrell went down and Casey Hayward went down, our run defense went with them.
Apparently.
Because AJ was making a lot of plays in run defense coming down there and run support. And not having that piece to go along with the guys up front, it has really hurt us. And you can tell because we don't have any other corners that can do what AJ Terrell was doing. Even Casey Hayward, for that matter. Casey Hayward, that's the reason why he got hurt, because he came down on one play and got hurt on it. Made the stop, But it goes to show you, not having those 2 guys definitely, clearly, was a huge piece of our run defense. And, man, our run defense right now is soft as butter, Doc.
Oh, yeah.
And we got major issues right there. We can't stop the pass or the run game.
No.
So we suffering right now.
I get it. In a lot of ways, I get it. You're relying a lot on, a second-year guy in Taquan Graham, backup level guys in Horn and Abdullah Anderson. Like, I get it. You're relying on, like, you have one true star or starter in Grady Jarrett, and once again, he can't do it all by himself.
Nope.
Ebiketie is coming along as a rookie pass rusher. I don't think he's leading it anymore, but there for a while he was leading in win rates and in pressures, and he even got himself a half a sack in this game. Lorenzo Carter is showing that he's a good rotational piece. Like, I like what they're doing with Lorenzo Carter. He's just, you can't count on him as a pass rusher. He's contributing in a lot of other different ways, dropping into coverage and things like that, So yeah. I'm not against Lorenzo Carter even coming back next year, as long as it's for a decent price, which we'll get into, Troy Anderson, as Joseph Thornton is asking, where's Troy Anderson? Troy Anderson's still learning. He's still trying to figure it out. Like, this past game, Michael Walker had a good chunk of the snaps and played pretty well. He wasn't necessarily a liability like he had been. He'd had a bad game against the Chargers, and he bounced back decent enough. I think out of your Falcon mind, guys, are correct. Expectations got inflated with some early season success. Combined with the Bucs sucking, now we're coming back to earth. That's something we'll get into here in a minute. You had an opportunity to, like, create yourself some buffer. Because you knew, and I think I even said a couple weeks ago, you knew eventually the Bucs were going to figure it out again. Like they were a little astray But just like with Green Bay, right? What I mean by is Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady have played way too much football not to get back into their rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tom Brady dealing with a divorce, that can't play good on anybody's mindset. I don't care who you are. Your world is getting ripped apart.
Yep.
And it showed. He finally got finality with everything being finalized. And you see his play starting to come back together.
Mm-hmm.
He's starting to be able to fully focus on football again. And it's showing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you knew you were on borrowed time in a sense. And you couldn't give yourself any cushion. You couldn't beat the Chargers, who you should have beat. You couldn't sweep the Panthers, which you should have done.
Yeah.
You went from potentially having, 4 losses and 6 wins to being 4-6 instead of 6-4. Okay.
Yeah.
So you could have been 6-4 with a full control of the NFC South and really putting the pressure on Tampa Bay, but you couldn't string it together.
Yeah.
It almost feels a lot like, and tell me if I'm wrong here, it almost feels a lot like when a undrafted guy or a late round guy has some success, he tends not to have as long of a career, right? You see what I'm saying? Like think about it. You have Philip Lindsay, right? Undrafted, rookie running back, tearing up the league one season. You had James Robinson, another undrafted back, tearing up the league, having everybody question, should you even draft running backs anymore? Just pick them up on undrafted.
Mm-hmm.
1 year. Even here with us, Ryan Schrader comes in, plays, locks down that right tackle position, but just don't have that longevity, right? Like the longevity is what you get generally out of your first round guys, your second round guys. The ones who everybody in the league's talented. It's just what can you do to separate yourself, right? I almost feel like right now the team is in a fifth round to undrafted state right now.
Yeah.
Like
I
knows?
think,
Who knows what next year is going to look like? We might pole vault ourselves up into a third, second round status. But right now, I think we're somewhere between a sixth and undrafted. What do you think?
I think that's a great comparison as of right now. And I'm running into this. Let me jump on that pass rush for a minute.
Yeah.
That pass rush is as good as our secondary is. This is how Dean P's defenses work. His secondary is what predicates how good his front four or his blitzes are going to be up front. And right now, our secondary is hurting. So he can't do only but what he can. The reason why is because a lot of the guys he has, they're effort guys. And what I mean by that is if you got a great secondary in the back, you give them first, second, and third efforts to get to the quarterback. But right now, we don't have that. So we don't have the type of pass rushers that can beat you one-on-one except for Grady Jarrett. But if Grady Jarrett is double and triple team, then he's not going to be able to continue to do that as well. Now, that fifth and sixth round or undrafted comparison you gave, I'm going to run that into this. This coaching staff is starting to show some trends that I'm not really feeling at the moment. I remember after that San Francisco game, we went up into Cincinnati, and you heard Art Smith saying after that game, he felt like his players just wasn't up to par to go in there and play. Now, that's on coaching. You got to ramp things up to get these guys prepared, right? Now you don't do the same thing again. So obviously these guys have gotten too relaxed in the fact that they won more games than the media said that they would win and then the fans. And I said this during my show. If you're going to use that as fuel, you have to win. Unfortunately, if that fuel runs out, guess what happens to your team? They run out of fuel, and that's why you're 4-6 today. And that's why I'm going to say that.
No, yeah, I completely agree. Part of you, has got to know that as long as they keep trotting Mariota out as a starter, the players themselves can't feel confident. Like they may like the guy. They may respond to his leadership. but they're all professionals. They all know what a winning quarterback looks like.
Mm-hmm.
They all know that. And it'd be hard if I'm, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, whoever, looking over and watching, Mariota throw from his back,
Mm-hmm.
and be confident about it.
Yeah.
Tony Rice says, after the Carolina games, folks, I came to the realization that our Falcons aren't that good. So the Cleveland, San Francisco, Seattle, LA, and New Orleans game fooled me. It's kind of like on the lines of what, what out of your Falcons' mind we're saying is, early success, was a little bit of fool's gold in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And Fred says, JR, we got 7 games left, all winnable. The Falcons are making the playoffs. I believe in my team when nobody else does. Dude, I'm so glad you do. And I do not want to take any of that away from you. Are we mathematically eliminated? Nope, not even one bit. As a matter of fact, there is no team mathematically eliminated as of this week.
Right.
If we can win against Chicago, they will be the first team that's mathematically eliminated, the Chicago Bears. But you're catching a Chicago Bears team that starting to click on offense.
Yeah.
Now, I hope like all heck that AJ Terrell comes back because I think that'll bolster our secondary quite a bit. Let's see. Jared Butler says, pound for pound, good evening. Good evening, sir. Could one of you explain how did he throw from his back with his head to the sky and throw up a punt? How does he still have a starting job? Bro, that's the question everybody's asking. So that'll lead us into everybody's favorite segment. The Ballers and the Fallers. Okay? This week's edition of Ballers and Fallers sees a baller that was a faller last week that has now returned to the realm of ballers. And that is one Drake London, who showed in an ugly Carolina game just why you drafted him. Making tough catches. I'm talking, got his clock cleaned about 2-3 times.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure at one point in time they had to ask him, hey, do you know who you are? And Joker makes the catch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even that touchdown got his clock cleaned and held on to the ball. He's showing you why you drafted him.
Mm-hmm.
And, generally when he's a faller, like I gave him a hard time because, he let Khalil Mack just rip that ball right out of his hands. Well, he said that Carolina game, not today.
Nope.
Not today. I'm going to show you that I'm the tough guy. I'm going to show you that I'm the physical guy. And he did. And I give him props for it. He's looking like very much he's worth a first round pick.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait to see him with a competent quarterback. That leads me to our faller.
Literally.
I should have had a picture of him on his back is what I should have had. That would have been funny. That would have been absolutely fun. But anyway, our faller is Marcus Mariota. He is who he is, right? Who was that? Was it Herm Edwards or Dennis Green? I can't remember now. Who was talking about like we are who what our record says.
Oh that's
quote. Who was that?
Dang, I forgot his name right now. I can't think of it.
Anyway.
But it wasn't neither one of them.
Yeah. I can see the guy's face, but we are what our record says we are right now.
Mm-hmm. Somebody in the chat will get it for us.
Oh yeah, they will. They'll pull it up. CDX for Life says it was Edwards. Okay. So maybe it was Edwards. So yeah, those are definitely like Mariota. If he's on this roster next year, there's a good possibility I'll hang it up straight up and down. If we start 2023 with Mariota as our starter, I'll give you this year. I straight up and down will. Not even trying to be funny. Like, I understand. There's a philosophy that I get, and we'll get into here in a minute. But if if we go into 2023 and Mariota is the starter, and they're talking about Mariota being the starter, Doc, y'all won't have to worry about pound for pound in 2023, or y'all won't have to worry about J.R. Clark and pound for pound. I'll tell you that, because I'll walk away.
I can't. I'm gonna tell y'all something right now. I love my Falcons, man. I
Love
love
'em.
them, man. But I cannot deal with incompetency at the coaching staff when you know this guy is not taking you anywhere. We're 4-6 right now. And I tell y'all, I'm just not even positive that we're gonna come out of this game with a win. This is a team that they are, even though it's not the best stat for them, they're still putting up a lot of points. Chicago's the first team in NFL history to score multiple games of 29 points and still lose a game.
Right.
And guys, our last 4 out of 6 games, guess what? We've scored under 20 points.
Yep. Oh, let's see. Matty Ghost tips us $10, which we
Matty.
appreciate. Bang! Yes, sir. He says the DTs, with the exception of Grady and a few flashes with Graham, is booty. The DTs are hurting our pass rush with our DNs. Mariota is less than 7% on 30 yards or more. LOL. Exactly. That's like outside of Grady and Graham at times. Like Graham gives you more in the run game than he does the pass game, but he's shown you some flashes. And I'm willing to give him like another year because this is his first year starting.
Yeah.
This is only his second year in the league. And I really can't get mad at Timmy Horn. He's an undrafted guy. So, like, the fact that he's able to even get on the field either says a lot about him or a lot about our defensive line, which unfortunately I think it says a lot about our defensive line because Eddie Goldman retired on us and Vincent Taylor blew out his Achilles. I think it was his Achilles. Anyway, he's out for the season. So I think the fact that Timmy Horn's out there says more about the state of our defensive line or defensive tackles. So yeah. Let's see. Tony Rice says, J.R. Toby, does Arthur Smith's stubbornness to replace Mariota with Ritter and P's stubbornness not to turn this defense loose remind you of Dan Quinn's stubbornness with the defense? Okay. Let's get into that for a minute. Hold on. Be Strong to tip us some money too. So let's get that. Be Strong. We appreciate you. He said, would you be cool with Mariota as Ritter's backup? For a lot less money? Maybe. $2-3 million, sure. But not for 11 or whatever that he has to be. Dre Murphy does say, don't walk away on us though, JR. We gonna anyway. Oh, okay. Let's get back to the question about Arthur Smith's stubbornness. All right. Here's this is my thought process. Toby, see if you agree with me or not. On the Ritter thing. Okay. Everybody's like, oh, they see Ritter every day in practice. If he's not starting, he must be butt or he must be bad. It's not true. The reason why I say that is because in the season, backups don't get a lot of reps. You have a very limited time with the amount of practice that you have. You don't have time per se to be just giving everybody reps because we got to work on what we got to do. Now, do I, J.R. Clark, think that Ritter should be starting? At this point, yes, I do. But there is a comfort, in a sense, for the head coach knowing that the guy out there knows what he's supposed to be doing. Right? Like, there's that aspect of it. There's also the aspect, if they truly think that Ritter is their quarterback of the future, if they truly feel that way, they may not also want to run him out there in this situation. They have more than one time brought up the Kansas City model, more than one time brought up the thought process of having your team in a better position before you drop a rookie quarterback in. That just may just be their philosophy. So I don't agree with it, but I don't know if I count it up as stubbornness. They may be internally, which we don't have access to, they may be internally saying, guys, we're playing with house money this year anyway. our aggressiveness, and when I say our, I'm talking as like I'm the coaches and the GM. Okay, our aggressiveness was to dump this cap. That's where we were aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
You traded away Ryan. You traded away Julio. You traded away Ridley. You traded away Deion Jones. You reworked Jake Matthews' contract and you extended Grady Jarrett. All with the focus of getting this cap down.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that you can't, like, Terry Fontenot just came from an organization that continuously kicked the can down the road.
Yep.
Continuously kicked the can down the road. So you don't think he didn't really like see what those are going to, what fruit that's going to bear? They're fixing to have to gut their team again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
They lost last year or this past offseason. They lost Teron Armstead, who's making that Dolphins line look real good right now. Don't you think that they wish that they still had that left tackle? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So all I'm saying is this is something I was thinking about. And I thought about doing a truck thought video on it, but I just didn't get around to it. Had a busy week. But the aggressiveness that this team has shown in these first 2 years has been with getting this cap right and not losing a ton of assets in the process.
Right.
All of this is setting up for 2023.
Yep.
2023 is going to be a make or break season.
Yes.
Straight up and down. This coming off season is going to be a make or break off season. Period.
Yep.
Point blank. Whether they feel like, hey, we've gotten some internal information that, Jackson isn't happy up in Baltimore, and we may actually have a run at him. Maybe they're gearing up to do that. I don't know. This could be a situation where Arthur Smith would rather deal with a veteran quarterback instead of a rookie quarterback. Bruce Arians didn't want to deal with no rookie quarterback in Arizona or in Tampa Bay. In his mind, he didn't have time for that.
Yeah.
So maybe Arthur Smith is that way as well. I don't know. Maybe he'd rather deal with the Mariota and his foibles and his failings and his shortcomings while Ritter is soaking up the process. And while Ritter is soaking up the knowledge instead of having to deal with that stuff on the fly. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Tove? I've been yakking now for 20 minutes.
No, I'm on those same lines as you. I think Arthur Smith will know that they have no sweat on their back right now of worrying about this year, because they came in here in an inadvantageous situation with the roster being the way it was and the way that the cap was left for them in shambles, basically. So they did what they needed to do to set themselves up for 2023. Now, they're not going to tell the fan base that they feel like in 3 years they can get this team back to winning, because then the fans definitely weren't going to show up if they knew that.
Right.
But I do believe the theory is they told Arthur Blank that this is just my theory. I have no facts on this. But I believe that they told Arthur Blank, we believe we can get this team back to their winning ways in 3 years. And in 5 years, we can build a team to sustain those winning ways. And so when you get to 2023, guess what? That's the 3rd year. And that's the year I expect for us to win. I've gone on record months ago, even last year, I've gone on record when we weren't doing good saying that 2023 is the year. And I think they're all looking for that because they're going to be out of this cap. You're going to possibly have close to 90 million, depending on what you're going to do with Marcus Mariota or whatnot. So you feel like you're going to have something to work with. You just got to get these guys to be competitive enough to at least attract some guys over here that's going to want to play for a team that wants to fight to win as opposed to losing.
That's the part where you have to be like, okay, what's the deal there? Like, I feel like, and y'all can correct me if you're wrong, if y'all think I'm off base here, but seeing how aggressive they were going after Watson, with
Mm-hmm.
no regards to what that was going to do to the quarterback that you already had entrenched here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the franchise, the guy who's on my wall and on my, my chest at the moment. Like, you didn't care what that was going to do to that relationship. So what makes anybody think that they're going to be beholden to a third round pick?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I will be the first one to say, if they think that they can get their hands on somebody like a Lamar Jackson, or even oddly enough, if you want to get like stupid with it or whatever, say for whatever reason it's soured, and you could get your hands on like a Trey Lance or something like that, that they wouldn't pull the trigger, and they've already shown that they're willing to be aggressive to get the quarterback they want. Now, with that being said, I think Ritter is a guy who can be good in this league, like in this system. So I just think that, they're not trying to rush him out there right now. Like, they see in their minds, there's really no sense in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it sucks. That's what I was saying earlier. Like, had you been able to win against, these past two games and really like start to distance yourself, we could have been talking about something.
Yeah.
But still, even to this point, you've only been blown out in one game. You've only not been competitive really in one game. Even that crap we saw on Thursday, you were still in it. And that's what they're looking at. They're looking at the fact that, okay, we're still competing. They want to win. They're trying to do their best. That's objectively speaking. They think they're doing their best to win. So, who knows? Anonymous says, I want Lamar. We're going to see. Like, we're going to see if he can make it out. If he makes it out. At this point, I still don't think he does. I'm just using it as the latest, hottest rumor or the latest, hottest name. I don't think he makes it out of Baltimore. Let's see. Dre Murphy says, I do not want to take no chances of putting Ritter out there and end up getting hurt, though. Personally, I think he's our QB of the future, though, and they won't be able to see what he can do. I'm not necessarily worried about Ritter getting hurt behind that line. Somebody said, let's see if I can find the comment. I read it during my rants. Sorry, a little more ranty today than I normally am. Y'all have to forgive me. Let's see. Anyway, I can't find the comment now, but somebody was saying like Mariota didn't break his leg against Khalil Mack or against Aaron Donald. So the line was decent enough to keep him alive there. So I kind of agree. Matty Ghost with a $5 tip. We appreciate that, Matt. He said, how are we going to get Lamar with so many holes in the D-line, secondary, O-line, position, left guard, center? Yeah, that's the thing. Like, do you think right now, even putting in a quarterback of Lamar's, stature, do you think that would even improve the situation?
You got money, you'll get O-line. I mean, period. You'll get O-line. I'm not even worried about that defense. You'll get that too. Y'all gonna have plenty of money. But if you got a quarterback like Lamar, and I said this before, he's gonna draw people over here that's gonna want to play for this team when they know they got a winning QB in hand. Now, as far as the Ritter situation, there's a chance that Ritter could start, but it will probably be after the bye week when they have a longer time to get him prepared. And after that time, the season will probably be so far lost that it'll be like a Lamar Jackson situation where he came in for Joe Flacco at the end of that season when he got here as a rookie, and then he took over the next season. Now I think Joe Flacco got hurt toward the end of the season while he had to come in, but nonetheless, this may be a situation where Ritter comes in at the end for the last 3 games or so of the season and play. But it's just going to depend where we are now. what we need to talk about is how can we figure out how we're going to win at least 5 of these next 7 games, because that's, to me, is what it's going to take to even try to win in the division or even try to get a sniff into the playoffs as the 7th seed, because that's about where you're probably going to end up at if you should be lucky enough to get in. And right now, I hope they took this mini bye week to kind of get some of these things that they've been doing that is now on film that teams know about now. So there's no secret about what they're trying to do, because these tendencies are definitely getting them stumped right
Yeah.
now. So I'm hoping they took this bye week in order to do some self-scouting and figure out some of these things that tendency breakers to keep these defenses off of their heels, because right now these defenses have figured them out and what they're trying to do.
Yeah, they need to. Yeah, they need to have some tendency breakers in there. Part of those, I think, is if if you're going to keep lining up in that power pistol, that shotgun pistol looks, that offset pistol looks. I think you need to start getting, Parker Hesse involved, maybe as
Yeah,
as a pass catcher, to break some tendencies. Maybe even get you got Michael Pruitt, who has been doing a real good job blocking. We need to start getting him involved more in the passing game. Oddly enough, whether it's Ritter, whether it's Mariota, uh, we have got to get the passing game going. I
yeah,
don't want them, if it's Mariota down the stretch, I don't want them to do what they did in the Browns game and the couple games afterwards, which was only attempt, less than 15 passes.
yeah.
That's not going to do it, Doc.
Mm-mm.
That's not going to uh, do yourself any favors whatsoever. We need to
Yeah,
start getting, uh, now that you've got 10 days more rest, you need to start getting Cordell Patterson involved more in like screen games and in wheel routes. I would love to
mm-hmm.
see them start implementing like some of those Texas angle, those Texas calls where you get the wide or the running back out on a wide angle that comes back. Like there's things that they can do to, like I said, have some, tendency breakers. But what they can't do is just what I'm going to call like turtle back up. You can't super condense everything and then just go back into the run game.
Yeah,
You can't do that. You know, that's just not something. You have to make defenses pay for stacking the box.
right.
Even if it's just a time or two in the game, you have to. Because if you're not going to make them pay for stacking the box, then you're going to go back to 100, 120 yards rushing a game.
Yeah,
So, let's see. Tony says, JR, with Desmond Ritter quarterback, I believe he would spread the ball to receive all the receivers in a passing game, and he would do a good job of executing the run game. Your thoughts? My thoughts is, as of right now, this is a scenario where because what we saw was in the preseason against backups, who, like, if you go back and remember, even in that Jacksonville game, he was making some rookie mistakes. Now, we say, hey, we'll deal with it because he's a rookie. If I'm going to look at mistakes, I'd at least much rather look at it from a guy who I think has a higher ceiling. Like, we've made those statements, and I still stand by those statements. But I implore you all to not convince yourself that inserting Ritter just automatically fixes everything. I'm even trying to remind myself of that, from time to time. Let's see.
The way the defense is playing right now, JR, bringing Ritter in at this point, it's not even worth it, because the defense is not playing up to a stellar level that can balance out whatever Ritter does. And that's the reason why we're struggling with Marcus Mariota, because this defense, what they were when they had AJ Terrell and Casey Hayward, is leaps and bounds bad and worse than it was when we didn't, now that we don't have them. And so we gotta figure get that defense right. Because it won't matter what quarterback we bringing in there. Because I don't think they're even worried about having a franchise QB if the defense can do what the defense needs to do. And right now, the defense is not there.
Right. Matty Goes tipped us another top $5, which we appreciate
Let
greatly.
it go.
He says, if we can get a QB like Caleb from USC, size, arm strength, and can read coverage, this is preliminary, of course. That's, yeah. Like right now, your guys that are coming out, people are already like, pounding the table for, guys like Bryce Young or CJ Stroud or, what have you. But those guys haven't looked like, what's the word I'm looking for? They haven't looked generational. As we thought. They're looking better than this past, quarterback class. But like CJ Stroud isn't necessarily lighting the world on fire. And Bryce Young at times is showing you his limitations by, his size. Like not being able to really see well over the offensive lineman. He has to roll left to right, and get outside the pocket to, be able to produce. But I mean, he's showing you that will to win. Bryce Young is, but Alabama definitely isn't as big of a juggernaut this year as they have been. So I'm not sure if Caleb is he coming out this year. As I think he's got one more year, doesn't he? At least
I don't know. I hadn't had a chance to really look at him, so I don't know what his status is yet. I haven't looked at any other college guy like that other than Georgia because that's my team. But unless we're playing against them, some of those quarterbacks, whatever. No, Gabriel just said
Caleb is 2024, and that's the thing is like. Again, I'm going to be super interested to see what this offseason brings us. Like, you rolling into it with a lot of money, and like you gotta make a move pretty quickly as far as like who you like. Do you have faith in Ritter? Right? Because that's the question you're gonna have to answer. You answer with what looks like is going to be a losing season again.
Mm-hmm.
If you roll into this offseason, like in press conference, question number 1, are you bringing Marcus Mariota back?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Question number 2, is Desmond Ridder the quarterback of the future? Right? Like that starts like day 1 of the offseason.
Yeah.
Like day 1, you're going to have to answer those questions.
It's going to start the last game of the season.
That's what I'm saying.
That last presser, they might as well gear up for it.
Yeah. Like Arthur and Terry better not, catch attitudes about being asked about a quarterback.
Yeah.
Because this coming. Like straight up and down. Let's see. Maddie says Caleb is better than Bryce and Stroud. I don't know. We'll see. Somebody says, let's see. Ernest says, I completely understand Ritter won't solve all the problems, but he has to be able to move the ball, thus give our defense more of a breather than Marcus 3 and out. I got the same feeling that y'all do in that aspect. Is I feel like he would be a more consistent passer. But I don't know for sure. I do think if by the time the bye rolls around, if we're out of contention, I'm pretty sure you're going to get Ritter.
Mm-hmm.
King 7 says, fellas, what's going on, King? Tony Lambert says, how much of this money that people keep talking about will be spent on keeping our own guys?
This is what I want to get into.
All right, go ahead. What you got?
Tony, we already spent the money on our own guys. We ain't got many, though. We spent it on Jake Matthews. We spent it on Grady Jarrett. AJ Terrell is about the only other one right now that we have that we got to be concerned with to spend money on as far as our top corner goes. Everybody else is up for grabs.
The only two guys that you need to be really concerned about bringing back at this junction is AJ Terrell and Chris Lindstrom.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's it. And I think they'll take care of both of them.
Right. I think if you bring back Caleb McGarry, it's on a real cheap deal, maybe even a 1-year deal.
That's a no for me.
Oh, it's a no for me. I done seen enough of him can't keep a speed rush to save his life. He's looked better in the run game this year, but that's about it. And that ain't saying much.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Fire Lab says, you keep assuming, and I think you're wrong about that. Nothing about Ritter's preseason shows he would give new life to this offense. We're a prisoner of the moment in a sense, and we have selective memory. You combine those two things, and you remember the play against Detroit where he threw it up and Bernhardt got it. Yeah, right? Like that play sticks out in your mind. And then you couple that with what we're watching on a weekly basis with Mariota, and we keep telling ourselves it can't be any worse. So that's where, like we have talked ourselves, and I say we as a collective fan base have talked ourselves into Ritter's got to be better. So that's I think that's where that comes from. Chris James says, would you re-sign Oz? That's interesting. Would you re-sign Oz? Because Oz seems to, I like Oz, but he seems to be like his production is up and down week to week. But I think that again has a lot to do with the pass
quarterback play.
Yeah,
I guarantee you, some of these wide receivers that we got right now, other teams would want them. You look at Green Bay; they would love a Damiere Byrd right now. Damiere Byrd has been having some great moments for us, and Hodge is coming back. You know what I'm saying? Daryl Hodge. I think we should try to keep that nucleus of wide receivers together. I don't think they're gonna cost that much to come back for another year, because we're still gonna have to sign some of these guys to 1-year deals next year.
Right.
Regardless.
I think so. Our buddies, where to go from Out of Your Falcon Mind, says Ritter's pocket presence is already better than Mariota's. Now that I agree with. Like, that's something that has translated from college. When you have seen him on the field, his pocket presence is way better. He said you could see that in preseason. Did he make mistakes? Sure, but his poise was clear. And that's, I agree. I agree there that, his poise seems to be better. Let's see. Hold on. You forget the 13-14 passing against San Francisco. That jumps out even more than the Detroit game. It obviously didn't because I forgot about it. Just saying, What sticks out to me is that it was 14 pass attempts. Like, he had a good game that game, and I gave him props.
He had 13 straight completions.
Right. I give him props, right? But it's the deal when you do lock it down and when you do are able to gum up the run game, can he produce? And so far he hasn't been able to produce. Somebody said Fire says you're biased. Probably we're all biased. I've come to realize that we're all biased in every in all the situations. Let's see. Dre Maverick says, but I would definitely 100% give Brian Edwards the cut. I forget Brian Edwards is even on his team still. Gabriel says they don't give Edwards a chance.
You know why they don't give him a chance? Do you really want me to explain to you why they don't give him a chance? Dude had a chance to take in a 5-10 yard screen, and he couldn't even bust his way open to get to the end
first
zone.
Down.
He couldn't even get the first down.
Yeah, couldn't get the first
down.
That
alone is why he's not even going to be probably getting another sniff at playing on his team unless he can do something in special teams.
I agree there. Let's see. Money House says we aren't winning any more games. I don't know. I think we'll win out a game or two, I think. But it's going to be tough. I mean, the Bucs are finding their way. By the time we see Washington, they'll have Chase Young back. The Steelers got TJ Watt back. So, it's going to be tough. Let's see. Okay, Maddie says, I'm not sure Arthur Smith is our coach. 2023 will be make or break. Very much so. Very much so. 2023 will be a make or break season. And hopefully after next year, like I hope that Arthur Smith doesn't hang on too long. Not Arthur Smith, Arthur Blank. I like Smith and I like what he does schematically in the run game. I like what he has done as far as trying to like make it work as far as like with the pistol formation and the power pistol looks and all this other like he has done some fun, innovative stuff. The things that we have been asking a coach to do. But then there's just the weird stuff that he seems to be extremely stubborn on. And it just doesn't make any sense.
Hmm.
Let's see. Yeah, everybody's talking about the O line, and how do your Falcon Mind says not lying. Pass pro is bad. Got to keep the pocket rolling with that bunch up front. That's
Yeah,
yes, that's part of the
but
issue,
that's not even working now,
right?
especially with the left guard situation going down. I mean, you can tell it was absolutely glaring, obviously glaring, that left guard situation is hurting and we suffering now. I mean, Cody Gossett was good for that game against Seattle, but player he has been
He looked
uh
rough, boy.
atrocious.
Fred Buss wants to know, Toby, would you move on from Dean Pease? And he says he doesn't like the 3-4. So would you move on from Dean Pease at the end of this year?
The question is if Dean Pease gonna be moving on? For me, because he talks a lot of great things, but he's not disappointed in the defense, but Dean Pease knows his pride. He is not happy with not being a top 10 defense. This is what he looks forward to, and it has been excelling in since he's been in the NFL. And to have this unit to still be as bad as they are after 2 seasons, he may not even want to come back next year and may go ahead and pass it on to his brother, his son, I mean, Matt, to
I don't
do it.
know, like it's hard for me to but then again, at the end of the last couple of years of Dick LeBeau up there in Tennessee before they hired Dean Pease, like you got the sense that maybe it was time for him to move on, right? And I don't know if Pease is there, to be honest. Like his scheme still seems to be okay. I just look at the talent that he has right at the moment.
Yeah.
And I wonder how
Hmm.
much that has to do with it.
But see, that's the thing. I understand, Fred, I understand your question. But like I said, I turn it around that it's Dean Pease' decision. Is he even wanting to stay here and want to go through another year of hopefuls? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You don't know who you bring in, how they're going to turn out, who you're getting. And we couldn't get Ladarius Smith when he turned down the contract with Minnesota, to go somewhere else and doing pretty well where he's at. But you know, I don't know if Dean Pease is going to even be wanting to stay here another year and see where they can go with this defense.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what transpires, right? At the end of this season, with Pease or what have you, because I look at when it was clicking with Hayward and AJ Terrell in the backfield, like our defense was looking like it was making strides,
They
and,
were,
and it was
they
looking
were.
good. And I think to
Hmm.
myself, like, you know, I look at Richie Grant. You pretty much held out Richie Grant his whole rookie season.
Hmm.
When you did play him, you had to play him in the nickel spot because of Isaiah Oliver. But like he was our highest graded defender. The last, like, I know for a fact the Carolina, but the strides that Richie Grant has made from year one to year two give me some hope.
Yeah, yeah,
Same thing with Jalen Hawkins. Like Jalen Hawkins, year two in this, Pease system. Like these safeties, like when you did have AJ Terrell, Casey Hayward, and Grant and Hawkins, that secondary was looking real nice.
it was. Hmm.
And but then again, like you're not always going to have all your guys all year long. So,
Yeah.
like, is it a deal where your depth gets better as you're able to sign better guys.
Yeah.
Like if things go down, do you like instead of having Cornelius Armstrong, you have at bare minimum a D Alford level player or higher as a backup. Because also you got to remember D Alford's been dealing with a hamstring injury as well.
Yeah.
So which probably explains why his snap count has been down some. So can you have better depth next year so that when you do get these injuries, it's not as horrible? You know, it doesn't go downhill and you're not having to change out.
Yeah.
Somebody says, don't speak about Pease retired. Dre Harrison. Hey man, who knows?
And look, he may stay through year 3. But you know that brings me to answering Fred Bud's question. No, I wouldn't fire Dean Pease. Because I think some of what he does, it works when he has the players. We've seen it at the early part of the season. They were doing some great dominating things. It's just that once them injuries hit that secondary, it took everything else down.
Right. Anonymous says, I really hate bailing out coordinators because of player injuries, but it has been a theme for his tenure in Atlanta, to be honest. Like, right now, we're not in a position to have, like, solid depth. We're really not. So, you know, Tony follows it up with, how attractive is Atlanta as a free agent destination in your guys' opinion? I'll say this, depending on who the QB is,
Yeah,
I hate to put it like that.
There you go. Yep.
But, you know, if I'm looking at this team, like, I think in 2023, we're going to have to, unfortunately, pay some guys more than they needed, more than they deserve to get them here. But if one of those guys, I hate to bring it back up, but if one of those guys is a Lamar Jackson, that changes the perception of this team instantly. It's what they were trying to do with getting Deshaun Watson here. They were overlooking the off the field stuff because they knew what that would do for the franchise. They knew, just like if in a couple more weeks, if Watson shows up and starts balling out of his mind, you think any Cleveland fan is going to care about the off the field stuff? Not one bit. Not one bit.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they were betting on here. Now, the difference is they didn't want to give a fully guaranteed contract. I think that's what kept Watson from being here, was the fully guaranteed contract. Now, it really seems like that's what Jackson's after, is a fully guaranteed contract. So we brought it up last week, and we'll continue to bring it up as stuff gets talked about. But, like, you know, do you give it to him? I know you give it to him, Toby. I know you give it to him. But I'm saying, like, as a front office, do you say, okay, well, this is where the league is going. Might as well bite the bullet and do it now. Yeah. So, who knows, right? Who knows? Let's see. Yep, go ahead and throw this one out there. How do you Falcon Mind? They said, they got to run. Great show, guys. Looking forward to seeing you guys Thursday to talk some Bears. Yeah, we're going to be joining Out of Your Falcon Mind on Thursday night. So if y'all aren't subscribed to them, go check those guys out. And you can hear me and Toby ranting more about this awesome.
Yes. We're going to be up there with Mike and John out of our Falcon Mind on Thursday night at 7 p.m. talking about these Chicago Bears with the number 1 run-heavy offense, by the way.
Hey, and they just put the Khalil Herbert, or was it Khalil Herbert? They're running back on IR. So
it ain't gonna matter. They got Justin Fields running 178 yards and 142 yards, and I think he's tied for first with the most rushing touchdowns, like 6 or something like that.
He's got to be.
Yeah.
Like, look at it like this. Like, if you don't spy him with Troy Anderson, I don't know what you're doing. Like, if you don't run all 3 of your linebackers out there and tell Troy, hey, look, you got one job, Doc. If he moves, you move with him.
Yeah.
Your job's real simple this week. Hit him. You're going to have to. Let's see. Let's see what we got here. Somebody was asking about Sean Payton. Tony thinks that Sean Payton is going to be coaching the Chargers. I think is what he's just talking about. Who knows? Who knows what?
I think that is a strong possibility, Tony, right? Because he's made some comments about the Chargers and how he feels they're kind of not doing what they need to do with Joe Lombardi as their offensive coordinator over there. But, I think you might be right that he has his eye on that job.
Of course.
And
I mean,
he
with
might
Herbert,
just get it.
I mean, with Herbert as your QB, who wouldn't be eyeing that?
Mm-hmm. And they wouldn't have changed the offense because that's what they're running right now, the New Orleans Saints offense.
Yeah, but he's the one that knows how to run it.
Exactly. So, yeah.
Let's see.
Brandon Staley better keep his
better get right.
Stay on his toes.
Better get right. Anonymous says, I love Hawkins' instincts. I'm only a little worried about his tackling though. Yeah, I think I always get better at that stuff. I heard something the other day. You block safeties because you want cornerbacks tackling. I thought that was pretty slick. You scheme up safeties, blocking safeties because you want to make a cornerback have to make a decision.
And Drew Murphy, you right, because I was thinking that same song in my head when JR said that about Troy Anderson. Wherever Justin Fields move, you move. And I was thinking about that Ludacris song too when he said
just
that.
like that. That's right. That's what you're gonna have to do. I mean, because they're finally taking the reins off of Fields. It was like, all right, if he ain't there as a passer just yet, as far as the NFL level is concerned, as far as the schemes are concerned, then he can get it done another way. And so, and if you don't think that he ain't trying to come in here to Atlanta to yet another team that passed on him,
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's going to be geared up to play. And there's a handful of Chicago bars in this area that there's going to be plenty of fans there.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Fred says Lamar would change the franchise forever. Players would always come.
And they would, and fans too.
Yep. You'd be silly not to think so. Trying to see if I can catch a. Anonymous says, for real, Blank darn near sold his soul for Watson. I'm sure a team will do for Jackson. And the part is, like, Jackson is all the talent and way better off the field.
Yes.
Like, way better off the field.
Yes, he is.
So, like, that's not a hard sell at all. Frank Norville says, draft Brian Breesy or Siakai Ika. Don't know who that second name is. I know who Brian Breesy is for defensive tackle help for Grady Jarrett in the middle. Right now, I want freaking this is, really like Jalen Carter.
Yeah, Jalen Carter.
But I want like an edge rusher. I want a because if you get me one dominant or consistent even edge rusher, that would help Grady Jarrett tremendously. So, like, that's what I'm looking for. Gabriel says, sign Deron Payne. Very well. May do just that. It depends, like, because it sounds like he's somewhat falling out of favor in Washington, so it might be an easy get.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anonymous says, exactly, man. If I was Blank, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I understand some people's hesitation, though. Yeah, the hesitation is the style. Like, the style lends to a QB getting hurt. And that's what a lot of these owners are looking at is, but hey, you can get hurt on any play, really.
Yeah, you can.
Man, I think that's about do it for us.
Yeah, man.
The chat doesn't slow down. We doesn't slow down. I appreciate y'all letting me rant tonight. I try not to do that too terribly much. Everybody's like, sure, JR, whatever. It's time for the tickers. Let's see if I can get the ticker going. Ticker. There it is. There's the ticker. It is time once again. Come on. Do right. Thank you. Time once again. As always, Falcons fans, y'all can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Grim1128. That's GRIMM1128. Toby.
Toby D 1991.
Keep your eye on the channel. We're always trying to put out something. I'm going to be out of pocket this Friday, so there might not be something, or it may just be something short. But like I said, you can catch us on Thursday on the Out of Your Falcon Mind podcast that's on YouTube, as well as Apple. I think they put it out like audio wise as well, so y'all can catch us there. But man, just reach us wherever you want to. Leave a comment, hit us up on Twitter, whatever you feel like doing. Merch links in the bio if you want some merch. Patreon's there if you want it. If not, no big deal. As always, Falcons fans, rise up.
Rise up.